influence on British life, covering everything from naked women to politicians and from soaps to the royal family. Or better yet, naked women caught with politicians and the royal family as Britain's longest-running soap opera. The tabloids reflect Britain in all its uncensored glory. Getting a juicy headline may mean paying big money for it or hiring a prostitute or just making it up. The ends always justify the means. For the next few minutes, forget the cricket and the British sense of fair play. We are about to take you on a tour through the notorious world of English tabloids, looking at 3 classic stories as only the British could produce them.
A tabloid newspaper is a paper of the people. It belongs to the masses.
They like to see something where they don't have to use their brain.
Look at the pictures, you know, there's no stories in them, is there? No decent stories to read.
I think most of them are a load of crap.
Just because somebody's famous, why they have to be exploited by rubbish newspapers?
Because we love gossip over here in this country, that's why. We love gossiping.
We write our stories to entertain the public and inform them on what is going on.
No.
And we do it...
Rephrase it. Inform, then entertain.
A large percentage of what the tabloids serve up every day is sex.
Let your head go back 5.
And believe me, it goes far beyond anything you'll see in your hometown paper. 3 of the 6 daily papers run a photo of a topless model. They're called Page 3 girls, and that's where you'll find them. It's become an accepted tradition as English as a cup of tea.
The way this Page 3 stuff started was that the Sun, years ago, had a hole on Page 3. There was nothing to put on it. And they had a picture lying on the desk of a girl who was topless, and they put it in. The circulation took off. Most of them aren't even sexy, but they happen to have been blessed with a rather large chest.
There's nothing in any way salacious or pornographic about the Page 3 girls. In fact, they're a very well-loved and respected part of national tabloid journalism, particularly by women, believe it or not.
Like, I'm a Page 3 girl and I'm not a member of the public. I don't know what they find appealing. I'm just lucky that they do find me appealing.
Appealing is the girl that kisses and tells.
Hello?
It's the classic source of a tabloid story. In this case, a pregnant teenager telephones the Daily Star about her alleged affair with a British rock star. This has the makings of a front-page splash. Editor Brian Hitchens and his brain trust think they just might have a winner.
A ditched girlfriend has come forward to us, who is pregnant, who wants to brand him a rat. She wants to do it through the pages of the Daily Star. She wants to tell a story of how she was seduced at the age of 15, a virgin, and embroiled in a world of not only sex, but booze and drugs, rock and roll. Finally, to be forced to have an abortion. This is what she alleges. It has to be checked out.
More than a bit.
The inquiring minds of the Daily Star decide the story is worth looking into. 2 reporters are dispatched to check it out. A rendezvous is set up with a young woman, Elaine, in a London hotel room.
Did he say that, you know, you should have a baby?
On several occasions, yes. Then he said that I shouldn't. And then he called me a murdering whore.
Why did he call you a murdering whore?
Because apparently he blamed me for the last abortion, even though he demanded that I have one.
But you strike me as a girl with her feet on the ground, despite all this. You've got a good sense of humour, you're articulate. Why were you conned by this man?
When somebody like him, who's idolised, suddenly comes forward and wants to make you feel like you're the only person in the world, which he did.
Yes.
It's very hard to say no. You strike me as people who are going to tell the truth.
Why do we strike you as people that tell the truth?
Because the first word he said was trust. And you haven't led me up the garden path so far. Because it's not money. The important thing is to get him to face the music.
So you don't want money from us?
No.
The reporters interrogate Elaine for hours, and we're talking hours. Now it's time to confront the rock star. Can't print the story until they do that. But there's a hitch. The rocker has flown the coop for New York. It's Friday. The editor wants the story for Monday morning's paper. So it's off to New York with that deadline snapping at their heels. The reporter, photographer, and Elaine wait in the freezing cold, ready to point the accusing finger and get the evidence necessary to run the story.
Will you tell me if that's David, because I can't look.
Don't kill Daily Star in London. Did you know this girl? No. You don't? You never met her before? Is it true you're the father of 4 child? Pardon? Is it true you're the father of 4 child? Is it true you're the father of 4 kids? Right? Did you bring her to London when she was to New York when she was a minor? Yes or no?
Excuse me.
Please get your hands off me. Right and wrong. What have you got to say? Are you denying it?
Can you tell me who you're with?
We'll find out shortly, darling. You all right? Huh? He said absolutely nothing. The only thing he said was that I was crazy. That was it.
Get him for what he's done to me.
After more than 100 hours of work, flights across the Atlantic, it comes down to her word against his. Sorry, Elaine, your story has too many holes. The Daily Star is about to kill it.
How can he just walk in?
That's the way of the world, isn't it?
What are you doing with me?
Yeah, you come with us. Come with us from here.
The Daily Star's a little gun-shy these days. Recently, celebrities have been suing the pants-off papers and winning. Former tabloid editor Derek Jameson knows.
You have 6 newspapers fighting for the market that they have inclined to let standards go in the last few years, and they're under fierce pressure at the moment because of phony stories, artificial interviews, ridiculous situations.
But a few phony stories and plenty of ridiculous situations quickly turned the Pamela Bordez story into the tabloid scandal of the decade.
I was a creature of fantasy created by the tabloid press. And they were marketing this creature, and everybody was buying these papers because it was good stuff to read.
What could be more juicy? Pamela Bordez, gorgeous former Miss India, toiling at the House of Commons by day, but at night, the tabloids claimed she was squired about town by government officials, newspaper editors, and even flew to Libya for weekends with Colonel Gaddafi's cousin. Was she trading secrets? Inquiring minds wanted to know.
Initially, it had all the makings. It had political figures. It had a beautiful girl, a girl who was allegedly wayward as well, working in the House of Commons as a researcher. It had members of Parliament who had sponsored her, had cleared her, and then, when the story broke, she cut and ran.
Reporters chased her halfway around the world, looking for an exclusive. The game became who would find Pamela first. Christopher Sylvester and Francis Ween are reporters for Private Eye, a satire magazine known for exposing tabloid excesses. They know the sordid tale of how hungry reporters tracked her down.
Eventually, she turned up in Bali, and the whole of the British tabloid press sort of decamped to Bali. And she was, at one stage, chased. I think she was on the back of a motorbike. There was a sort of accident, and she fell off the motorbike, and half her face was sort of scuffed away, and she had to then go to hospital, and they followed her to hospital, and they got on the plane to follow her to Hong Kong.
The pressure was on to get not only her story, but pictures of her tortured face.
And the photographers pulled straws, and the one who got the shortest straw had to come and pull the veil off my face, which he did. And in the process, he hurt me, physically assaulted me, but he didn't care, because he got this great photograph that he's worth a lot of money to him.
And Pamela cashed in, too.
Eventually, she was signed up by the Daily Mail for an undisclosed sum of money in the hundreds of thousands of pounds bracket.
As part of her deal, Pamela could not disclose how much she had been paid, but it's believed to be more than $200,000.
At the end, I had to give an interview, because if I didn't, they'd think I was trying to hide certain important things or important names, and they would chase me around the world for the next 5 years. So I had to put an end to it, because things were completely out of hand.
And after that, all the other newspapers really sort of began to lose interest, because I suppose the real objective had been to sign her up, and since somebody had done that, there was little that they could do thereafter.
Tamela Bordez is old news now, but one story runs forever: the royal family. Most watched, most followed, most photographed. James Whittaker, considered to be one of the premier royal watchers.
Yes, I've been caught up trees, I've been caught in bushes, but it is very embarrassing, I can assure you. And yes, I'm after a story, and as I say, preferably if nobody else has got it. But like for today, it's the next in line to the throne. You've got the Prince of Wales first, and then you've got Prince William of Wales, to give him his full title, who's here at a carol concert. They are extremely privileged people. Prince William is going to be the king one day, so you can't treat him as a normal child. And of course, Princess Diana in particular fights tooth and nail for some sort of normality. Not real normality, but hopefully getting close to it. And if you've got a camera constantly on him, even to the point where he's having a pee in the park, and what young child hasn't done that? The difference, of course, with him is it's going to end up on page 1 of a newspaper. And I didn't like it, and my proprietor, Robert Maxwell, also didn't like it. And as a result of that, the editor of the paper who ran that got fired.
That was really the breaking point when they said we must control what goes in newspapers. And that was at editor level, where when the editor, in her own way, decided that she'd use the pictures.
That's not strictly
And that was
true.
intrusion.
No, James, that's not strictly true.
Isn't it?
The picture didn't offend anybody.
Well,
it was a final management straw when they got a phone call from the palace saying, "Oi, this is just gone too far."
Well, it was intrusion, they claimed.
I mean, hang on. I mean, 2 weeks before, she used a picture story of an operation of it splitting up, blow by blow, Siamese twins.
Well, that's
so if there's any intrusion, that's what it is. Not some little Ponzi prince taking his willy and a pee against a tree while he's at school.
Let me clarify that. He's not a Ponzi prince. He's a nice little kid who wanted to relieve himself, and unfortunately was pictured.
He's a Ponzi little...
It offended not only the public, it offended hardline journalists, and I happen to be one of them.
Jason Fraser and Brian Woodward, the photographers that took the pictures.
It is a charming picture. It's a photograph of the future King of England taken in a public park. Members of the public watched him doing it. We just happened to be there also.
I mean, tourists strolling by, people walking past.
Everybody saw this. We just happened to bring it to another 10 million readers. And around the world also. I mean, let's face it, I mean, there was a big storm over these pictures, and you know, at the end of the day, there are people who go, tourists who go to cities in Europe just to see fountains where there's a young boy answering the call of nature, and that's considered arty. You know, we can do that. But there's an uproar over this.
But it doesn't seem to stop the tabloids from doing whatever it takes to get what they want.
Any journalist who is not being sued is not doing his job. If you haven't been sued, you're obviously not writing the stuff that matters.
So at the moment we're under fierce pressure from the establishment to get it right, to improve standards, to be accurate, correct, objective, fair, impartial, all the things that the tabloid newspapers are not.
We didn't make the mistake in the first place. We just report them. We are not the two-faced people. We are not politicians. We are not sportsmen. We are not show-busy stars.
Surely in the last few...
They are the ones who make the mistake. They scream because we catch them at it. We catch their hypocrisy. If you like, we are the fishermen of life.
Well, I don't troll that way, actually.
You see, tabloid newspapers, they're all heart. They believe they're real people, real life, and that's what makes them so beautiful.
The tabloids used to say, publish or be damned. Now they might be damned if they publish. With a new code of publishing practices, libel actions, and critical pressure, the tabloids are holding back, at least until the heat is off. Stay with us. Bette Midler will be coming along shortly, and next, a story not